Annabelle, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, all the Zoom codes were wrong. Bill's sending them out now.
They're wrong?
They were
Really?
wrong. So all these people that want to see this are now only now getting it.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Okay.
that explains why you have
Okay.
only a couple of people.
Okay. Well, you know what? If they come in, um, I'll be monitoring that then for sure. Oh, so that's why, because Bill was just on and it cut off.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? The beginning is just intro and just information on myself. So I'll just get started. Thank you to those that have joined today. My name is Annabelle Pacheco. I am a real estate broker. I've been in business for about 24 years now and part of a global real estate company, eXp Realty. I really have a goal to share with people every week the steps that I took in purchasing my multifamily deal, also bringing in special guests that are from the multifamily space so that they can share with us and just really expand our knowledge on it and be able to do this on our own, right? And you guys also gain enough information to be able to do this for yourselves. I encourage everyone to participate, ask questions. This is really the only way that we will learn is by asking questions. If you're experiencing going through a challenge, ask. And I'm sure, even if I don't have the answer, there's plenty of knowledgeable people that come on this platform and are very knowledgeable. So, feel free to open up, share, and just, we're learning from each other. I want you all to know that I am not selling anything. I'm not offering anyone anything. I'm just here sharing my story of what happened to me with my multifamily journey and where it's at and, kind of like where we're going to go or what I'm going to be doing next. A little bit about myself, for those of you that don't know who I am. I started in the mid 90s, really in the mortgage industry. I was doing a lot of just FHA, conventional residential loans at that time. It was very, very hot and popular. And during that same time, the market was great and I was purchasing homes to rehab and just flip and sell and really have done over 100 properties throughout my career. That went really well where we were able to just flip a lot of those properties. We were able to keep and manage the units, like 1 to 4 units. We were able to keep those, manage those, and eventually sell them off. And really just kind of got to the point where we're looking to no longer have. Can you've got a lot of noise in the back? Can you mute yourselves? I'm not sure who it is. Thank you. Thank you. Let me get back to this. So anyway, back in 2001, I deviated a bit from the real estate world and opened up. I built a 150 capacity restaurant from ground up, staff, 15 people, managers, chefs, and servers. And you know what? Did that for about 8 years and was extremely happy when I was able to hand over the key to the next owner. Because if anyone knows anything about the restaurant industry, it is extremely, extremely difficult. It's a hard business and a very sacrificed business. So, I learned a lot. And the last 10 years of my life, I have focused in real estate, just representing clients in both residential and commercial real estate. And the commercial part comes mainly from just my own personal experience.
Holiday cheer.
Cool.
Uh-oh.
So
Can I?
sweet.
All right.
I love
Let's.
nuts and peanut butter.
All
Thank
right.
you. How are
Somebody
you?
needs to mute themselves. Okay. Sorry, everyone.
Annabelle, you have the ability of muting everybody except you.
I'm trying to, but for some reason, they pop in. It's when they pop in. Okay, I got everyone muted. So, where was I here? So the commercial part of this comes from just my own personal experience in purchasing commercial property, and I think that's one of the best ways to be able to really explain this, because I've actually lived it, I've gone through it, and I understand it, and can share it today. I purchased my first multifamily deal in 2015. It was 34 doors in Texas. And really at this point, when we took my husband and I took the next step to purchase multifamily, I was really just looking to park our money and kind of make our money, figure a way, right? How are we going to make our money work for us versus us working for it? And it was just also another way of looking at multifamily as a way to create cash flow and create generational wealth. So how can we make our money work for us is what really we said to each other, right? And it was like, okay, we got to figure another way. This flipping thing is great, but at some point there were no more really good deals out there. So you kind of have to figure another way. And so for us, here are the reasons why we decided to go into the multifamily space and world and purchase. And pretty much, it'll probably be different for some, but this is what worked for us, and I'll share it with you guys. So number one, we were looking for cash flow, right? Now we want to invest our money in a property that's going to provide monthly cash flow. The flips was, it was great because you'd fix it and then you'd get a big lump of cash, and then you figure out, okay, am I going to put that big lump of cash back into a property, right? And do this and just kind of repeat this over and over and over. And so the beauty with multifamily is that you're now putting a big lump into a property that's going to cash flow every month. And just in a nutshell, cash flow is just rental income minus all of your expenses. Number two, it was like, what a great opportunity you have that now you have a loan that's going to be paid off by your tenants every month without even like feeling it, right? Three, it was the opportunity to have a property appreciate over the long run, which is what really happened to us. I mean, we purchased in 2015, and if you guys have been following the real estate market, we've done extremely well in these last 5-6 years. And number four, it was the tax benefits. For us, it was depreciation, that you're able to expense a portion of the physical structure each year, and the opportunity to do a 1031 exchange, which allows you to defer the capital gain taxes. And there is no limit to how many times you can do this. As long as you find a property out there that makes sense, that you could turn 1031 into, then you can do that as many times. So I'm going to give you guys just a really quick example of my property, my situation, my story. And what we purchased was a value add multifamily. And a value add multifamily is just really a property that's in maybe not the best neighborhood, but it's not the worst. There is an opportunity for you to increase its net operating income by improving and renovating the property. Okay, so this is important because you will find a multifamily out there that probably are already done, right? And you're going to pay a higher price, whereas a value add opportunity, you're going to have to come in with additional money to improve it, but then that also improves the value of the property. So perfect example is we purchased this property. So we purchased 34 doors for $850,000 in 2015. And I have to tell you guys that when I purchased in 2015, I did not think, I really didn't even think that it would be where it's at today. I thought, okay, maybe a couple $100,000, we'll continue to increase the rents. I live in California. California's market, yes, is very strong and properties appreciate very well. But Texas, 6 years ago was a little different. mean, it was appreciating, but it didn't have the same, I guess, strength as it did in California. So we purchased a property for 850. I remember reaching out to the agent who happened to be the owner of this property. And I was a buyer who happened to be an agent. So we pretty much negotiated amongst each other. And I was able to ask, I asked him if he would carry a note for 2 years. And pretty much that is, I gave him $350 down payment. And then he was the bank for the difference for 2 years. And this was wonderful because number one, I was ready to go through the loan application process, but I know that it was going to be tough. And when you're buying your first deal, you kind of want to minimize, you're going through so many new things. And I just thought, wow, if the seller will finance for me, I'll take it. It's going to be so much easier. And he did, we agreed. It allowed us to remodel and update the units and increase rents. And really by year 2, when we refinanced and we were able to pay the seller, give him his money, our property appraised at 1.6, almost doubled a year 2. And we got a loan for about $1 million. So we were at a 65 LTV. And today we've got zero invested in the property of our own money. We pretty much got all that back, and it's been running on its own for the last 6 years. And today it's worth $2.8 million. So I will give you guys just a little picture of what the property looks like. 24 doors, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And then there's 10 units that are 2 bedrooms and 1.5 bath, townhome styles. These have a little backyard. Any questions so far? I know that's a lot I've been talking about there, but just kind of want to get.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Yeah, all right, so I take it you're generating positive cash flow at this point. Could you give us an idea of what that experience has been?
So this property, let's see here. So we purchased this property in 2015. It was generating income at that time, but very, very, very little. Properties needed a lot of work. And so as we were remodeling, obviously you have to go through vacating tenants, but as we were remodeling, I would say that by year 2, we were at maybe a good solid 50% of the building had been remodeled. And rents, 1 bedrooms, 1 bathroom were $400, $450. We increased it in year 2 to $600, $650, and currently they're at $800, $850. 2 bedrooms started out in year 2015 somewhere in like $600. Then by year 2 we were in the $800, and then currently they're in the thousands, $1,000, $1,100.
Thank you. Sort of another question for you. Where are you based right now? Because this is in Grand Prairie.
Yes. So I reside in California, and the property is in Texas.
Okay. Maybe you could speak to that at some point too, how the distance is, how you're dealing with the distance.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
pretty much it was, great questions, and thank you. What we did, as I've had experience in the flip, like just remodel and flip and sell business, it was easier to manage, to pretty much do the same thing, because we were coming into this property to renovate it, increase the rents, and much easier to handle this. Now, what we did, we self-managed this property. 34 doors just wasn't enough for us to hire a management company, and we figured we'd hire a manager who we give her a concession on rent. She lives in one of the apartments there. And we have a handyman that lives also on the property that we give him a concession. So it just worked out where we had two people that are there 24 hours pretty much. And any outside, I mean, we'll bring in outside vendors if we need, you know, like an electrician or roof or any major like work that needs to be done. We'll just contract someone from, you know, outside exterior vendor, and they come in and they fix it. But we've got like on call there on the property, two people. And that's worked perfectly. It's done well for 6 years. And I mean, it could continue. I am currently in the process of selling it. So I don't know if the next buyer has, maybe they have multiple, you know, units and they're going to continue with their management company. But I can tell you that it's running on its own and at a distance. It's worked fine. We prepared, I mean, we taught her what we wanted, you know, how we work and what we kind of wanted to do and what we expected of her. We've got weekly calls, and if not, maybe sometimes it could be 2 calls or 3 calls a week, depending on if certain things happen and she wants to let us know. But it's been, you know, I think that if you set the standards and expectations from the get-go, they understand, and it really has worked fine. I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's perfect. Every now and then there's a couple things that happen, but overall it's done really well. And for us not even being out there, and we don't go and visit the property every single year, but we're on the phones and we're there. Like, I mean, we're there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, so I wanted to talk today a little bit about getting pre-approved. I know that I didn't have to go through it originally when I purchased the property, but I did go through it when I refinanced, and just kind of want to give you guys an overall. Now, I wanted to ask, I know I have, I've got quite a few on the call today, and wanted to ask if maybe you could raise your hand or if you could share, does anyone currently own multifamily? And if you do, how many doors? Okay, no one? Okay. So are you looking to purchase? You guys looking to purchase multifamily? Is that the goal here? Okay. Okay. And are you guys looking to purchase out of state? Are you guys looking to stay in your same area? What's the goal? I kind of just want to hear from you guys. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. So everyone is looking, okay, within the state. I'm looking in Atlanta. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Well, I mean, I can tell you, for those of us that live in California, it's definitely hard to find some good deals here in California for multifamily. That's why, I mean, and 6 years ago when we moved, when we decided to look outside of California, it was really, it was like, we either do it now or it's never going to happen. And we thought at that time we were overpaying, because we have friends or who was kind of like our mentor that had purchased out there, and honestly had purchased for like half of what we purchased it. So we thought, okay, you know what, we're overpaying. But if you guys follow the market and see what's happened in Texas, and not only Texas, but just everywhere, I mean, prices have just gone up tremendously. So, all right, so this is going to be really good for those of you that are looking to purchase a multifamily, and will have, you know, you're going to get a loan. Normally, these loans usually have to be over $1 million for the lenders to consider them if you want to go Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and I'll explain that as we go through. But here's just really kind of quickly, if you guys wanted to find out, to see if you quickly qualify for a loan, this is going to give you guys just a very broad picture of, either like if it's even possible, like if you even think you're going to qualify, and the things that you're going to need are trailing 12 months. You want a month-by-month operating statement, which is like a profit and loss, and you want a current rent roll. Okay. And then the borrower's net worth, this is important because the borrower's net worth needs to be greater than the loan amount. And the borrower's liquidity has got to be greater than 10% of the loan amount. Okay. So you have to take all this into consideration, and the net worth does not include your primary residence. Okay. Now, you'll have, and this is just kind of like really quickly to find out, all right, do I qualify? You want to look at those three things: trailing 12, a month operating statement, and you want to look at a current rent roll. It says, does the trailing 12-month statement typically include the vacancies? It should. It's going to include whatever you are collecting rent for that month. Okay. Now, so if you want to get a formal quote or a term sheet that the lender can stand behind, or like, you want to get a commitment to closing type of letter, you're going to split it up into two. You're going to want property information, and then they're going to want like your personal information. Okay, so property information, they're going to ask for the last 3 years of operating statements. And they're going to ask you for a trailing 12 months, month-by-month profit and loss, a current rent roll, a summary of Capex to date. And Capex is, for those of you that might not know, Capex is capital expenditures that have been done to the property. That's a number that is not deducted from the monthly income that the property makes. It's just like a big lump sum that a bank will look at as, okay, this particular borrower spent, maybe $100,000. This is a one-time thing. This is not something you're going to be doing every month. Okay. And a stabilized budget. So they want to look, this is the stuff that you'll need to provide the lender with. And then a little bit more, obviously details, photos, address, description, the unit mix, the age, and the construction type. Now, here comes the borrower part. You're going to need to provide many times when you're buying multifamily, the majority of the borrowers will have an entity. They'll have a corporation or an LLC, and there might be different people that are part of this. So they're going to want the name of that entity. They're going to want an organizational chart, right? To know, okay, who's part of this entity. Then personal financial statements from each guarantor. So this is really important. So you have to make sure that whoever is going on the loan is going to have those things that I mentioned previously that will qualify. Okay, so they have the assets, they have the income, they have all of that. They're going to want to see a resume, right? They want to make sure that you are experienced, that you know how to run multifamily. If you've never had any kind of experience, then there's a really, really good chance that they're going to have you bring on a management company so that they can manage it, and then the bank knows that it's going to properly be managed. And then any individual owning more than 20% of the general partner will be underwritten as a guarantor. Limited partners are not underwritten. So this is if, let's say, you decide to, either if you join a syndicating group, you don't have to worry about being underwritten. only the general partners are underwritten. But if you yourself are going out and applying for a loan, then and you're going to, you have the financials and you have the assets, then they're going to underwrite. You're underwriting yourself. Okay. Guarantors with limited experience and strong property management companies will also be required. So you may have the income, you may have the assets, but you don't necessarily have the experience managing. They may have you, the bank may have you bring in a management company, or you bring in a partner that has that experience. Okay, any questions so far? So here, in addition to the items that I mentioned to you guys on the formal quote, so following documents are required also. Now, this is prior to closing. Okay, so the first part is just, okay, let's see, do we even qualify? You're trying to find out, you're trying to get all these little pieces together. You're trying to put pieces together. Now, in the course of the underwriting and reviewing, right, because they also have to review third-party reports, appraisals, and just other stuff, questions may present themselves that will require additional documentation and underwriting items. Now, I can tell you for sure that they're going to have additional stuff coming up that you'll have to provide. And really here, it's all a matter of trying to gather as much information as you can when you are going to be applying for a loan from the actual, the agent. I mean, the seller will provide that when they're selling a property. Now, for the borrower, you're going to want W-9s, right? Your final organizational chart, articles of incorporation, whatever operating agreements, and then verification of the EIN. I see a question. Do you have a lender available? We're talking for multifamily, correct? Is that Christian? Christian? Yes. Okay, so here's the items that they're going to ask for. The lender will ask you regarding the property. They're going to want title, certificates of occupancy, rental license, proofs of building code compliances, copy of the deed, zoning letters. And again, some areas, I mean, this may be available for some, it may not be available for others. Designation of counsel, and also insurance agent. So these are just, I mean, you could write these down that they're gonna ask you for this stuff regarding the property. And then the guarantor needs to provide a schedule of real estate owned, right? That's where you're going to put if you own other investment properties or just whatever property you own, for them to get an idea, right, of your of what you have in total. So as I'm doing my presentation, I'm also trying to respond to some of the questions. And yes, this is recorded and everyone will get a copy of it. Once we're done, you will get a copy. So don't worry about it. If you're not taking notes, it's all on here. Let's see here. Authorizations to release bank and credit information. Also, you need to provide as a guarantor, and verification of deposits, bank statements. All right, so now that was the guarantor, now the property, right? So in the property, in addition to like the rent roll, which we've already discussed, and the operating statements, you also have Alta survey. And that's pretty much a detailed land parcel map, okay, which pretty much shows like improvements of the property, utilities, significant observations within that insured estate. Okay, you're going to provide commercial leases, you're going to provide laundry leases, all this information you must get from that seller. So if they have commercial leases, and all of this is when you are negotiating, when you're actually in the negotiations, you will ask for all this stuff as well, because you want to make sure you look at it and you want to make sure that the numbers align with what's on those operating statements. Okay. You want copies of service contracts, trash, pest, landscaping, pool services. You want utility bills. I mean, I can tell you, as I am going through the sale right now, I provided gas, electric, water. I mean, everything. They want to look at everything for the last 12 months, and they want to make sure that it's properly, that those numbers match with whatever it is we're putting on that operating statement. So as part of your due diligence, right, you're going to gather all this information to make sure, okay, does this deal make sense or not for me? Well, the bank also wants to see it, because this is how the bank determines if they're going to be able to provide a loan on it or not. Okay. If you are bringing in a property management company, then you need to list, very important, they have to provide a list of the properties that they are currently managing. You have to execute a management agreement so that the bank knows that once this management company comes on board, this is our agreement. This is what we're paying, because they're going to take that into consideration. They're going to want to see a marketing plan, marketing materials, sample of leases, expenses shared with other properties, if applicable. There's a lot of management companies that have other properties as well, and so they want to make sure that it's all like open, and they know what amount is what, and what they're going to charge your company, or what they're going to charge you to manage the property. And then payroll analysis as well, because they're responsible for that. Okay, so we have a couple questions here. Do they look at tenant income? No, they don't look. So remember that you're applying for a loan. So what they're looking at any kind of revenue that the property produces. So what they're looking at is what the rent is, because they're going to add up that rent, and that's the income that property makes. Is this something you are able to provide the lender? So you will not get tenant income. And I hope, Jeffrey, I'm understanding your question right. Are you asking?
Yeah, I'm asking about the income of the residents of the property, if that's something, when you're looking at buying a property, that you have access to. Because one of the things I've seen in presentations is for people who are trying to like form syndicates, is they say, oh, the average income of within a 1 mile radius is $62,000, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not sure if the actual tenants have that average income. And I'm wondering if that's something that is obtainable through the seller of the property. And it sounds like it's not.
It's not. No, because
Okay.
I'm a seller, and I have my tenants file, and yes, we probably have income information in there, but we will not be able to forward that over. There's got to be, you got to protect their privacy and their information.
Okay.
So,
okay, just curious.
What the lender will look at, and really this is more for like the person that's applying for the loan to buy the multifamily. They're just going to look at what the rents are, what that property is producing, because they're going to give you a loan realistically based on that property's performance. Yes, you also have to have the income, and you also have to have the experience, and you also have to have you have to check every box off. But really, at the end of the day, is the property performing? That's how they will lend you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then there are third-party reports, which could be termite inspections. Some states don't really have it or do it, but termite inspection, your appraisal, phase 1 environmental, if it's required, and then a project capital needs assessment. And really, this is just an inspection of the property that estimates the cost to maintain it over time. I was going to say something right now. In this market, just for any of you like looking, appraisals are taking about 2 months. My property has been in escrow now for a good, we've probably been in escrow for about 60 days, and appraisal was done within the first maybe 3 weeks of us being in escrow, and they still don't have it. So it takes some time. This is just, I'm sharing this with you guys because I think that it's important that you realize really like how long this stuff takes, so that when you do submit an offer, that you give yourself enough time to close, right? You don't want to come in there, you don't want to make an offer and say you'll be, you can close this transaction in 60 days, and you have no control over third-party reports. The other thing I wanted to say about this is, gosh, I was thinking too much, but so appraisal takes a while. Oh, you want to make sure when you submit offers, and let's say you do say you can close in 60 days, that you give yourself options to extend if you have to. The buyers they gave themselves 2 options to extend, and I as a seller have also the option to extend. And these options don't come by for free. You do have to pay to extend those options. So I just want to kind of throw this out because I'm sharing with you guys what I'm actually going through or I have gone through. And it really helps to know, right, being on the seller end, that if the buyer put 60 days and he wasn't ready to close in 60 days, he executed that option to extend. And each option, just to give you guys an idea, costs $10,000. Okay. And all this that I've given you guys, all these information and all this stuff is really for you guys to go out there and apply for a non-recourse multifamily loan. And a non-recourse loan is it's a loan that in case of default, it doesn't allow the lender to pursue any other collateral that you might have. It's just a recourse debt that holds the borrower personally liable. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is a non-recourse loan. It's not an easy process. There's definitely a lot of moving factors that go into this type of loan, but really at the end of the day, it's great because it's just I think it's the proper way to get a loan on a multifamily asset. I don't know if that makes any sense for you guys, but just, it's a great thing to look into. You guys could do a little bit more research on the non-recourse loan. And also just remember that when you're going to submit an offer, make sure you give yourself enough time for closing, because you don't want to be caught in a situation where you've exceeded the amount of days that you've asked for, and you're stuck. You can't close. You need additional time, and the seller may not want to offer you additional time for whatever reasons. And also know that in many of these multifamily deals, when you submit an offer, the minute that when your offer is submitted and the contingencies are removed, that earnest money deposit is non-refundable. So if for whatever reason the buyer does not qualify, he's out whatever that earnest money deposit is. Okay, any questions? Let me gonna stop sharing because this is pretty much all I have here. Any other questions?
Yes, Annabelle, thank you so much. This has been very helpful so far. My question is, with the non-recourse loan, does the collateral outside of the financial statements you submit and whatever other folks are involved, is the collateral itself ultimately just the physical building?
Correct. Yes.
And
So-
if it's in the LLC's part, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm apologize.
No. Go ahead.
If it's in the entity's name, if you will, it's not even, it doesn't touch you per se, right?
Correct. Well,
Okay.
remember, there's a guarantor.
Yeah, okay, that's where I was, thank you. That's where I had a little confusion because the guarantor is an actual individual person who would be, in this case, the semantic collateral.
Correct.
Wow, okay, now that's sticky if you don't know what you're doing. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So, but I think, again, for multifamily, I believe that's probably one of the best ways for you to acquire a loan and to try to get a non-recourse loan. Now, you're going to hear, there's probably, it goes back and forth. I mean, if you're going to invest $2, $3, $4, or $500,000 in a property, are you really going to walk away from it?
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? But then you never know. So many things can happen. I mean, we could have the market could potentially crash on us, right? And this property the value could just drop dramatically and you're in a position where, what do you do, right? So it can protect you somehow.
Annabelle,
Okay.
can I ask you another question? This is Jeffrey.
Yeah, sure.
It's a corollary to the last question. So say you do have enough money to be a guarantor and the lender does approve you. Do they ask you for verification every year thereafter to show that you still have that amount of money? Because what if you had it that, at the time and then you end up having less because you're investing in other properties or something like that? So what would happen in that case? Can they call the loan or what?
No, when I went through this, I submitted everything at that moment. Obviously, I had capital, right? Because I knew we were limited with our cash because we had put a lot of cash into the property. I had some, in our business, we have a lot of cash 1 month and then we may not have the cash the next few months, right? But it rotates. They've never come back to ask if I have the finances or not in there. What they do, just kind of another beware, is they will ask you for maybe like every 6 months, they'll want to see a current, like a rent roll, an updated rent roll. They want to see operating statements. They will require special insurance. When you do get one of these loans, the insurance guidelines are much stricter. And so you'll end up spending a little bit more on your insurance. They follow up. They'll want to make sure that you're up to date with all your coverages. They do a lot of, they'll send someone out to inspect the property once a year, exterior inspection. They may ask for interior, maybe 4 or 5 units, depending on how many you have. And really that's it. But no, they won't ask for any financials, any updated financials on the guarantor at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I can tell you that the same, Jeffrey, you're asking the same questions I was asking when I was going through this, because it was, it's not easy. It's definitely, it's challenging, and it's going to make you think, right? You really have to think, and you really have to prepare yourself. And 6 years ago, I was really on my own. It wasn't, I didn't connect with a lot of people, and I do this weekly call, and really I say to everybody, you know, now 6 years later that I've been doing this, it is so important to connect to other people that are in the multifamily space, to learn from them. You know, all these questions, all these things just make such a difference when you know and you have this information. I didn't talk to a lot of, I didn't talk to anybody. It was just, I had one mentor and he was really busy. He had over, I want to say 600 units. And, you know, I mean, I would ask him as much as I could, but I didn't, you know, and it's just kind of different, right? 6 years ago, we didn't have all these Zoom and meetups, and it's just very, very different. I just think that sharing this information with you guys will help you. You know, you pick nuggets from whatever you hear, and it's so much easier to go in when you decide to finally, okay, I'm going to make an offer on a property. You have an idea. I didn't have an idea. I kind of had to go through it the hard way and figure it out. And I'd ask the lender. Now I had lending background, so I would ask, you know, the right question so that I could prepare myself. But great questions, great questions. Anybody else? Anything else? I know I have about, I don't know, 10 people on here. Is everyone here from California, or are they from other states? Can you share what states you guys are in? You can put it in the chat or you can talk, whichever you want.
Hey, Matt again. I'm from California, Los Angeles.
Perfect, Matt. Okay. Matt, are you looking to buy here in California or out of state?
Well, based on what I've been, interestingly enough, I've been on calls for the last few weeks. The suggestion is to look out of state, but also at the fundamental level, they always say look in your own backyard first. So I'm being told look out of state, but I prefer to stay here and get my feet wet in my own state because I've been here, born and raised, 32, born and raised. So yeah.
I mean, makes sense. Again, I think it just depends on the market, and if you're able to find something that makes sense. California 6 years ago was really hard. There just wasn't anything that made sense. I mean, I went out, bought 34 doors for $850,000, and I thought I was paying a lot of money, you know, and you cannot find that here in California. Now, yes, everything's different, right? It's all market stronger here. It could have gone. I mean, maybe Texas wouldn't, I mean, if we wouldn't have had all this crazy stuff happening in our market, maybe Texas property would still be worth what I paid for it, right? But it'd be cash flowing, and maybe I could increase the cash flow. So I think at the end, I mean, really at the end of the day, you got to make sure the property cash flows, because if it cash flows, then it's what we call kind of like recession proof, right? If you know that it's cash flowing, and you're not banking on the fact that, hey, this is the value is gonna increase, double or triple. You're buying it because it's cash flowing now, and if you can continue to cash flow it and be conservative with your numbers, then there's no reason why you don't have a good property. So Georgia, I've got a couple people looking to buy in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. Oh wow, okay, and California. Okay. Has anyone on this call ever considered syndicating? No?
No.
Okay.
Do you have to be a private accredited investor to syndicate?
You do. Some of them, yes, you do have to be an accredited investor. And if anyone is ever interested in syndicating, you know, there are also, I do Zoom calls also when I talk about syndication is, you know, you just really have to do your research on who those operators are. Multifamily world is not as big as you think. It's small, and as we connect with more people, people know people and have heard if, you know, they've done a good job or not a good job. But it's just important to just ask, connect, And there are some great opportunities out there in syndicating. Multifamily, really, I learned, now, again, I'm changed. 6 years ago, I was not part of any syndication, and I was not okay with any syndication. I wanted to just kind of be on my own and just control it on my own. But I have learned that multifamily is a team sport. You can do it alone if you have a lot of cash and you can go out there and do it on your own, great. But it's just going to be easier if you're able to join other syndicating groups. And I have, a handful of people that I trust, that I know, that I personally have invested, and I will bring them on my calls time to time. I have them come on the call and possibly introduce one of their deals. And, if anyone's ever interested, just put your info on the chat and I can connect you guys when the opportunity arises. But syndicating is just a great way to, number one, you're not personally liable for or responsible for the deal. You've got to trust that the operators are going to do a good job, right? And you got to know you just don't invest your money with whoever. But it's, it's just a great way also to meet other investors and just kind of be a part of this space. It really, really opens up the doors and just opportunities. A lot of these syndicating companies get some really good off-market deals, and that's really where you want to invest. I mean, if you come across an off-market deal that you can buy on your own, you're in great shape. That's the way to do it. And that's kind of what happened to me. It was on the market, but really it was, he didn't do a really good job of marketing this property, and he was not running this property well at all. I mean, talk about slumlords. This was definitely a slumlord. Perfect. So, Jess, if you can copy the chat for me, there's some emails and numbers and just information there that I'd like to keep, and you can email that to me, that'd be great. And any other questions, anything before I end the call?
One quick question, Annabelle. I've heard about multifamily with regard to government guaranteed, aka Section 8. I mean, just knowing just briefly what landlords deal with, because I just have known different folks before. Is that something that's viable to start getting your feet wet because of the guaranteed government's paying, that making sure that's cash flow positive, or are there little barriers of entry there that are in just another level?
I think that's just going to depend on the market and where you're buying. We don't have any Section 8. We've not needed any Section 8. Our property was not affected at all during COVID. Everyone kept paying the rent. If anything, maybe one, maybe two people, fell behind, but they got caught up. I just really think it depends on where you buy. C property is the type of property that I was able to buy, and to be honest with you, is the type of property that I like to invest in, because they're not in the worst area, they're not in the best areas, they're just right there in the middle. And the majority of people that are renting in that middle area, they're hard workers, and they know that they need a place to live. And
Yep.
it's just really nice for us. And I can tell you from personal experience, I've had Section 8 tenants. They don't care. They don't take care of the property because
That's what I've heard.
they are getting, someone's paying for their rent. Maybe they have to pay $100 out of their pocket. They don't care. So I'm not a big proponent of it, but I think it really depends on the property. Sometimes you'll find properties that you may have to have a certain amount of doors to, for Section 8 or low income. It's just really going to depend. But if you can control it, I'd say you don't need to have Section 8.
Gotcha. That was my
Good
question.
questions, good questions. Thank you so much, because it really helps when you guys ask great questions. You know, like I only have so much to talk about. So thank you guys very, very much for joining my call today. And this is a weekly call every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Feel free to, join, share, follow me on social media, Facebook or Instagram, and let's connect again. If you guys want to hear more about syndication, it's something that, I am definitely bringing onto my calls, because I think it's a great way to get people into the multifamily space sooner than later. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, a lot of these syndications a lot of the syndicators, even with 50,000, you can get in. So it's a good opportunity to grow. If you have a little capital, you know what? Good opportunity to invest it and grow it. So if you don't have any other questions,
One last question.
I want to-
The business lines of credit through your LLC or S Corp, could that be leveraged for entry into a syndicate with, a barrier like 50,000? That's a lot of money, but look, and I'm very much a novice. This is me speaking from a very novice perspective, you all. But from what I've been reading and being on these different webinars and talking to people, $50,000 is not a lot in business credit when you're leveraging an actual cash flow asset. I'm just repeating what I was said to me. Is that true?
I mean, it depends on, if you have $50,000 in your bank account and you're not making any money on it, then you can, and you're given an opportunity to possibly maybe like double your money and get maybe a 6 to 8% return on your cash. That's not a bad deal. So
what I was talking about is business lines of credit. Is that because that's what they were? That's what this. I've been on a bunch of little calls like this, so I'm doing a lot of information coming my way. They're saying, well, you don't have to leverage your own money if you can get those business lines of credit. You can just move that into the asset because it's not taxable or something like that, because it's still cash flowing and you're not pulling any money out. Or that's what people have been saying.
So pulling money from a line of credit to invest in a syndication?
Yes.
Again, you're going to have to, there are other, are you accredited? Right? So you have to find out if you are, they do third-party verifications. So do you own $1 million in assets?
Gotcha.
Do you, your tax returns, do you claim, I believe it's either $250,000, $300,000 a year. So if you earn that and you have that, then yes, you can go ahead and pull from wherever and invest your $50,000. But just keep in mind that you still have to qualify. I mean, if it's an accredited, if they're saying you have to be accredited, you will still have to qualify.
And then that's what nobody's ever told me until you right now. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody's ever said that part. Okay.
I mean, I can pull 100 grand, right? But if I'm not accredited, how are you going to invest?
And that's why I'm seeking more information from other folks. It didn't sound right to me when I heard it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot of information out there. There's definitely a lot of information. Just do your due diligence, and I think getting information from different people and then kind of, all right, let me regroup and figure this out. You'll eventually get it. You guys will you'll do fine, Matt. You're doing the right thing. Anyway, okay, let's hear. I'm almost done here. Jess, are you on the call? Nope. Okay. Okay. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Merry Christmas. Enjoy your holidays. And if you guys need to connect with me, my information is on the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. Any questions? I'm an open book. I'm all about just sharing. You guys need anything? If I don't have the answers, I will connect you guys to someone that does. So Merry Christmas. Thank you again for joining my call. I hope you guys found today's Zoom call beneficial, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care. Merry Christmas.
Be well, bye-bye.
Bye. Jess, you there?